The Tale of Karam. High upon a silver tower, above the blighted trees, the legacy of Karam dwelt in mystery. Karam was spoken of in tones of quiet fear. The tongues would change from town to town, the details never clear. Said to be a mighty witch, or sometimes called a Cretan, necromancer, demoness, or that which man can't foresee. That Karam became a tale had muddied history, but men who told the tale agreed she was born of the sea. When she travelled to your town, your harvest would be blessed, and not a copper would she take, she'd only ask for rest. So your town would welcome her, an oracle of light, but once that trust and hearts she had, she'd vanish in the night. And when she'd gone for 13 days, a grey mist would come down, and tragedy and misery would wash away the town. That wasn't so of fading crops amidst the silver mist, but children maimed but left alive, with limbs cleaved at the wrist. Children's wounds were not of blade, but of a magic dark, stitched and healed and cleaned of blood, by witchcraft they were marred. So villagers from near and far grew in distant shade. Generation bore the mark that Karam had made. Smiths and merchants, farmers too, and the vestment clad, lived full lives dismembered still, shades of Karam. Decades passed, the fable grew, but somehow she walked freely. Guideless towns welcomed her still, so doomed to misery. In one town a hero grew, not knowing his full fate. He'd practiced parries, thrust, riposte, while not a Howard's bait. The hero's name Igari, of North Hamero clan. He bore the evil witch's work, Igari's missing hand. The bitterness had cursed him not, he dwelt not in the past. He'd not be victim to the crown, her legacy so ghastly. And young Igari practiced well, and grew into a man, a swordsman fierce, a dueller, despite his missing hand. A day into his 19th year, Igari did embark. In mail with sword, packed supplies, he'd march into the dark. His journey took him through the woods, through valleys so abysmal. The nights were fraught with dreadful sounds, the day were not less dismal. A crossbow that Igari built, he used in hunting game, and mushrooms, wild berries, roots, he'd gather to sustain him. A fortnight through the woods of pitch, he came upon a clearing, and in the distance rose the spire. He knew what he was nearing. But not a moment had gone by when arrows struck his back. A shout, another, from the trees, an ambush, an attack. Throwing steel with fencing hand, Igari faced the threat. The one-armed hero scanned the trees, the brigades numbered 10. Arrows flew from every side, but withered at his mail, and he became a whirlwind of blades of bloody gale. Igari slashed the throat of one, another he impaled. Opening a third and fourth, the ground grew wet with red. Dodging dirk and wooden club, he hewed and hacked and sliced, an ear, a nose, an arm and leg, a hand still clutching knife. The rooting brigades fled in turn, the numbers now just 2. Igari's bow was swifter still, the bolts he loosed flew true. Bloodied but yet resolute, and under light of moon, he tended scrapes and minor wounds. His journey would resume. 3 days of marching again, the spire loomed ahead. Igari knew just what it was, that wicked witch's stead. The spire's gate was mired in thorns, twisted and entangled. Igari hacked at branch and thistle, hot with righteous anger. Cold damp stone, overgrown, smeared in ancient crime, Igari set foot on the stair, and steadily he climbed. The staircase ended near the sky, the ruins of Karam. Igari came upon a door, wreathed in severed hands. They showed no sign of age or rot, but twitched with life arcane. Tristini, Cadanian, presented all the same. Reaching for the door handle, Igari turned it easily. Those severed hands, yet wreathed in twine, reached at his but feebly. Creeping into room beyond, a blaze so black and morbid, Igari witnessed such a sight he had seen not so horrid. Baskets lined the floor below, and twine was strung in banners. piled in baskets, strung in twine, were scores of severed hands. They twitched and squirmed, touched and grasped, and were they trying to cry? The crone had not just stolen flesh, they'd taken bits of life, and in the corner, shrouded, hunched, rooking in a chair. Was it she, Well Karam, simply sitting there? Witch, I've come to banish thee to icy realm below. He raised his sword, but faltered when a creaky voice said, "No." He brought his blade down viciously upon the wretched mast, and fell from chair a pile of bones, and from behind a laugh. And there she stood, all veiled in dark, with skin all ghostly white, a maiden young with silver hair, and garments weaved of sky. "You've journeyed far, my handsome knight, but now it's time to rest. Come, my child, and lay your weary head upon my breast." But Igari would not be thralled by guile or charm or trick. Bold and steeled he plunged his blade into the witch's neck. Her magic was so powerful, but here it gave no aid. Her lifeblood spilled from gaping wound, and her strength gave away. Her skin, at first so young and fresh, aged before his eyes. Fast decrepit, wrinkled, grey, leaking wicked life. "Look at you, you utter fool," she croaked to Igari. "You've doomed and all the childs I took. Our threads of life were linked." Igari coiled back in fear, surveilling what he'd wrought. The hands were quickly growing foul, surrendering to rot. The stench became unbearable. He left that charnel place. Returning from the citadel, he found his home in waste. Those who had lost bits of them to evil Vel Karam had suddenly began to rot, from whence they lost their hands. The rotten stumps were spreading quick, and took most unaware. A lucky few took blade to flesh, those lucky few were spared. The rest were taken by the rot, a blight so fiercely spreading, the minds decayed and blind with rage, knew naught but hunger pangs. And so the blighted plagued the lands, devouring living man, spreading rot that eats the soul, heralding the end. And Igari, the one-armed knight, the usher of the damned, he spent his days atoning, purging childs of Vel Karam, and when he'd slaughtered every ghoul, down to the last man, the living folk did tell the tale of Vel Karam.